Vicky. Vicky, I can see you here. Let me put you here and introduce
you. Good afternoon, good evening, or good morning, or whatever time of the world it is to everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome to this third episode of Hit Talks Live. And Hit Talks, what does it mean? What does it mean? And what I really like to do is share a brief story with you about Hit Talks, because you know when the download was coming through about Hit Talks, it was like, well, it sounds as if somebody's just going to hit you. And I was like, no, it's hope, it's inspiration, it's transformation. And I'm sure that everybody on here, if we came and hit you with some hope, some inspiration and some transformation, I'm sure you'd be happy, wouldn't you? Give us a yes in the comments. I'm sure you'd be happy if we started hitting you with some hope, some inspiration and some transformation. But the story is, about 36 years ago, there was a creation where people wanted to spread stories and spread messages and spread ideas of education, of design, of technology and things like this. And then they started speaking and sharing these messages on stages and on platforms for 18 minutes. But for me, I love doing lots of things, and I've always got my heads in books, and and love speaking and being with people. I thought 18 minutes, and there's so many things that I want to be able to bring in as a sponge. So it came down and we just thought, okay, why don't we do something else which is a little bit shorter? And why don't we do something that is inspirational, something that really puts hope into the world, and something that is there to transform people's lives, people's thoughts in this new world, especially the new world that we're going into. So Hit Talks was created. Hit Talks, where you have 8 amazing people from all over the world. We have speakers from Indonesia, from Singapore, from Los Angeles, from Boston, from Belgium, from England, from Norway, from Sweden, and from South Africa. Now, you've got to put some messages in the comments box for that. So it's worldwide, and they're here with one big vision and one big desire, and that is to share with you snippets of hope, inspiration and transformation from the heart. There is no hidden agendas, there is no selling. This is just purely to serve hope, inspiration and transformation. So I am just so blessed that you're all here. Really want you to sit back and enjoy. Please put messages into the comments box. Veronica will be able to pick them up for you, and we'll be keeping an eye on these. And yeah, it's going to be another amazing episode. So thank you so much for being here. So to start off this 23rd of May Hit Talks of Hope, Inspiration and Transformation, I would like to bring on Sophie. Now, Sophie is currently in Sweden, and Sophie is going to start off by singing a song, but also sharing some amazing, inspirational, transformational and messages of hope. So thank you so much, Sophie. I will give the floor to you. So let me just go silent a little bit just for the video editing.
Hi, Vicky. Hello, everyone. It's so beautiful to be here with all of you, and I am grateful and happy to be here once again. And I do believe that we all came to this earth with our own special, unique gifts. So today I want to share a song that is about what legacy we want to leave behind and what we want to contribute with while we are here on earth, in this lifetime and in this human form. So just take a deep breath and relax. When you go, what do you want to leave behind? our hearts. While you're here, what do you whisper in the night? While you're here, what do you want to ignite? And while you're here, can you make it a little more alright? When you shine all your beautiful light, and tell me now something you're passionate about, and give the world something it can't live without. And tell me now, when we got rid of all your doubt, can we finally let your soul come out? Yes, tell me now, when we got rid of all your doubt, can we finally let your soul come out? Thank you, dear. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Any extra words you'd like to share with what you'd like to leave behind?
Well, for me, it's at least it's just been about following my heart, and for me that is the purpose, the inner calling, what we are all here for, because we are all unique, and I do believe that we have our own purpose here to contribute with and spread hope around the world. And for me to be out of like inspiration, it's about coming from the heart and from your truth, and then you will inspire others to do the same.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Sophie.
Thank
you. Deep breath. So contributing to the world. So we're all here to contribute to the world, and taking a thought about when we talk about transformation and inspiration and hope, as what do we want to leave behind? What is the legacy that we want to leave behind? As she sang the love in our hearts. And I was Googling before we came on here about what transformation actually means. And transformational means it's a marked change in form or appearance. And it says transformation is an organizational context in essence, like a radical change in direction. But in personal transformation, it's when you're becoming critically aware of your old self and you're looking to integrate into the new version of yourself. So I hope that resonates with you. But with the transformation, that's the dictionary definition of transformation. And there's we're all on a transformational journey. As we say, every single day, if we're not growing, then we are dying. And every single person that I meet, then it's every single person I come across and I meet, they always give me some gift of hope, some gift of inspiration, and some gift of transformation as well. Which takes me to the next speaker, Mr. Nick Nahara, all the way from Los Angeles. Every time we speak, and that's quite often, he always gives me hope, and he always gives me inspiration, and he always tries to transform me, which I'm totally blessed about. But not only is he just an amazing soul, but for everything that he's done, from his screenplays, from his script writing, to his acting, to all the amazing things that he does, which he can share with you. I would, again, thank you, Rick, for being part of Hit Talks. and I'd like to give you the stage.
Oh, thank you. Well, Vicky, it's this morning we made a deal before we did this. You said, come and speak, but know nothing about what you're going to say, nothing planned, nothing whatsoever. And I like that, because you have to be so honest and real when someone says, just tell us what you feel. The beauty of that is I don't have to plan. I have to actually wait for a voice. I have to wait for an inspiration. I have to trust that an inspiration will be there. Something I have to say. And so every time I come here, I look around and I see, I was watching this chat line. It said, yes, 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 yes. And I said, exactly. That's what I want to talk about. The power of yes. The reason I come up with yes, after seeing so many yeses, I feel I have to. I think the world, universe, call it what you will, God, presence in our life is giving us signals every single day. It's telling us exactly what we're supposed to do. What is the great path to be on? Is that yes? And for me, when I started off as a writer, I said, I can't write. I'm dyslexic. I can't spell. I can't see things correctly. My writing comes out jumbled, and I have to go over it carefully and put it back together with dyslexia. Why could a Mexican-American kid from the border of San Diego and Mexico, ever hope to be a writer? And I'm a writer. I'm a professional Writers Guild of America writer. I never thought I would be. And it just happened. I became one because I simply said yes. I learned that from a person named Whoopi Goldberg. I was doing a show with her, and she told me, Rick, it's a show, it's an improv show. And I said, well, I said, audition for this. She says, yeah, well, all you have to do in improv is say yes. I said, what does that mean, Whoopi? Just say yes. So I go to the audition very early in my career, and they said, do you know improv? And I said, yes, I do. Do you know how to do improv? Yes, I know how to do improv. Would you like to do an improv with us? Yes, I would. Look, there's a gigantic pirate ship coming into the harbor, Captain. Yes, there is. The largest pirate ship I have ever seen in my life. Yes, everything was yes, and that kept the story going, and it kept the improv going, and everything was about yes. And I really learned a lesson there, that yes opens doors. No normally closes them. No normally stops them. We have many times when we could have been successful, we heard a no, and the no stopped us instead of listening for a yes to move us forward. I saw a wonderful TED Talk that Sanjeev asked me to watch, and they talked about the Wright brothers, the reason why. The Wright brothers wanted to fly, and they had another man that was trying to learn to fly as well, and he was paid by the Army and lots of money, and they think he would be successful. Why would he be successful versus guys that ran a bicycle shop in Pennsylvania? Simple thing. Yes, they wanted to do this. And the minute that he couldn't be the first person to ever fly, that person stopped. The Wright brothers continued, and they flew. So yes is the beginning of every journey. And yes is what we're doing. So anyone here listening to me, I have to trust that there's a reason you're hearing my experience. We all basically are cells of this human body, and as artists, we're the cells, it's the nerve cell. We can tell you what we feel. We can tell you what we hear. We can tell you our emotions. We take an interpretation of the world we feel, and we bring it back to the body, and we say, this is what we're experiencing. And the body moves forward. We say, yes, yes, I feel this. Yes, I feel this in my heart. I feel it in my skin. I feel it tingling through my body. Yes, yes, yes. Yes is the essence of life. Because if you say yes, you have to live. I remember the day my wife told me that she was pregnant. It was a yes that I had to embrace. Pregnant? Wow. Yes, I'm going to have a child. Yes, I'm going to be in charge of that child and love that child and worry about that child for the rest of my life. Yes. I really couldn't say no. And I said yes. And I have 3 beautiful children. Probably the greatest thing I ever produced is my children. I've always felt that way. So when I wake up in the morning and I know I have to go to the HIT thing, I've learned a lesson. It's not I have to go to HIT. I want to go to HIT. I want to be inspired. I want to move my life in some general direction that's better than it is right now. I'm saying yes to life. And waking up in the morning and being tired, I'm saying yes. That's what the beginning of this is about. Of you, everyone out there, saying yes to your life, saying yes to the moments. Even at times, and during this pandemic, we'll see tragedy. I've seen tragedy and friends lost. Even now in my life, I've been affected. But I think about it, and I remember a Garth Brooks song. No one would think that I like country music, but I love the poetry of it. Garth Brooks, he said, talks about a song about a man who has the dance. He gets to dance with this beautiful woman. And of course, they're no longer together. And he says a simple word. He goes, I might have wanted to miss the pain, but then I would have missed the dance. Sometimes, for our desire to avoid the pain, we miss the pleasure and the dance. That's what our lives are, is a dance. And sometimes that dance, there will be pain, but you still have the dance. The dance is life. That's what we do. That's how we move. That's how we think. That's how we live. So if you're this morning saying yes to your life and saying yes to your goals and saying yes to things you want to do, in the end, it's very simple. Love one another, love God. Very simple rules. I think if there is a loving God in the world, he wouldn't give us hard rules to follow. He would give us rules that are simple, rules that we can use every day. So if you're loving one another and you're loving God and you're saying yes to your life, what a beautiful way to begin your day. What a beautiful way to begin your life. And every day you wake up is the beginning of life. You know, I talked earlier about how I'd been in a coma and nearly died. And I remember being in the coma, and I've never told the story, but it's true. I was deep in the coma, and I remember hearing a voice saying, do you want to stay or do you want to go? Stay meaning stay in a coma. Stay meaning stay on the other side. And I remember particularly saying, no, I have things to do. I can't stay. I have to go. And then I woke up in searing pain. And I thought to myself, maybe I made that decision too quickly because it was painful to wake up. You have intubation, you have tubes down your throat, you have things in you you don't even want to imagine. You're there. Why would I say yes to this pain? Why would I say yes to waking up? Where I was at was so wonderful and beautiful. It's like being in warm syrup. And then I wake up when all I'm in is pain and needles sticking through me and all this horrible thing that looked like a human experiment. Waking up, and I said yes. And I don't regret it. I don't. Because I've been on the other side. It was beautiful. And being on this side is beautiful too. It's the dance. And that's what I'm experiencing. So today, my message in my simple talk is say yes. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And we say yes, and we also say that we're very, very grateful to have you here, Rick. So thank you again. And it reminded, when you were saying about missing the pain for the dance, a Simon Sinek story that he talks about the bagels, about two people that are in line trying to get a bagel after the race, and one of the persons said, okay, well, the line's too long. And he said, well, I just want a bagel. And he said, well, the line's too long. And he said, well, I just want a bagel, and then went to the front of the line, got a bagel, but he couldn't choose which kind of bagel that he had. And very much what you're saying, Rick, is there's two ways to look at things. You can either look at the dance, or you can look at the pain. You could actually look at the line, or you could look at the bagel at the end. So it's a choice that we have, as how we look at things. And I'm also very blessed and very pleased that you've all said yes to be part of HIT Talks. And I know that everybody else listening is saying yes as HIT Talks. And it's all about opening the doors. It's opening the doors of possibilities. It's opening the doors of synchronicities. Because we are all here for a reason, as the speakers and also as the guests. So opening the doors to the synchronicities. I invite you to do that with hope, with inspiration, and with transformation. And so let's go on to our next speaker. And the next speaker is a lady that I met only recently. And I met this lady only recently through a Zoom conversation. And you know when you meet somebody and it's like instant, and it's like a soul sister, and you just think it was just we chatted for, it was meant to be a couple of minute conversation, it was meant to be chatting for 5 minutes. An hour later we were still chatting. If we didn't have things to do, I think we would have been there a week later. So this is the thing, that when, you know, both Sophie was saying and what Rick was saying, the word trust. When you actually trust that you're aligning to the right people, you're trusting that the right people are in this space, and we're trusting that the people being connected to us are the right people, then when you do have that deep down trust, when you meet the people, it is totally like soul meetings. So I would love to give to the floor to Gina, who's co-written a book with Sanjeev, has written many books, is also writing another book on resilience as well, and many things. I think we were speaking last time, it was like 7,000 people that you were looking after in Harvard, and I was like, oh my gosh, this lady is so inspirational. So without further ado, I would love to give the floor to Gina Wild, and I'd like to thank you so much, my love, for being here.
Good, thank you. Hello to everyone from Boston. I am so delighted to be a part of this talk. And Vicki, thank you for the invitation. As we all know, Vicki is a bright light, and through this effort and her other efforts is really doing so much to lighten the darkness. When I think of hope and inspiration and transformation, I think of resilience, because nothing is possible in life unless we become adept at bouncing back, adept at learning lessons from our setbacks, and adept at finding hope even when confronting the greatest adversity. As a global community right now, we've never been in greater need for tools that will strengthen our resilience. This pandemic, it touches all of us. Some have experienced devastating loss. I learned this morning about someone I know who was relatively young who died of COVID. Others are grappling with fear of the disease and fear of the unknown. And we're all living with a future that's utterly unpredictable. So I think a great deal about resilience and how to cultivate it, because we all need it. And I'm currently, as Vicki said, I'm working on a book that hopefully will provide resources that will help us cultivate resilience in both adults and children. Everyone has had disappointment and loss in their life, for sure. I've had my share. I lost my healthy parents unexpectedly within 72 days of each other when I was relatively young. My only sibling, my brother, died of cancer at 48, and I went through the trauma of divorce after 28 years of a mostly happy marriage. So that was my journey, but there are many others who've experienced much greater tragedy and adversity, and there are others who may have had less, but nonetheless, everyone needs to find a way to deal with disappointment and loss. So why is it that some, no matter what the trauma or disappointment, rally with fortitude and ultimately thrive while others sink into despair? When the proverbial barn burns down, why do some weep and others say, now I can see the stars? Rumi, the exquisite 13th century Persian poet, so well said, the wound is the place where the light enters you. And that is the challenge of bouncing back, to use the darkness to illuminate the future. There are building blocks for resilience, and I've identified 8, but I briefly want to touch on 3 right here with you now. Choosing your thoughts, living with purpose, and forgiveness. So choosing your thoughts. One of the most inspirational books, perhaps the most inspirational book I've ever read, is called Man's Search for Meaning by the eloquent Viktor Frankl, an Austrian psychiatrist and survivor of Auschwitz. He contemplated why some prisoners found meaning in the most dire of circumstances. And he brought understanding to the question of why some prisoners would kill for the last slice of bread or a pair of boots, and yet others give theirs away. So here is a profound truth that he articulates. He famously wrote that everything can be taken from a man but one thing, the last of human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way. He illustrates this in his book with the story of a young woman imprisoned with him in Auschwitz who was soon to be put to death. When he visited her in a solitary cell, he found her cheerful. Why? She told him that through the window of her cell, she could see a tree and a bird, and witnessing this life gave her joy. She chose to focus on joy, and it brought her happiness during the darkest days of her life. Others find resilience in purpose. There is no greater example of this than the incomparable Christopher Reeve. He had everything, didn't he? A successful family, a movie career, he was beautiful. A tragic accident left him a quadriplegic whose every breath was dependent on a respirator. Yet in this unimaginable altered state, he thrived. He could have given up. He could have felt sorry for himself. But what he did in this horrific situation was find his purpose. He founded a foundation to help others, those with spinal cord injuries. When he spoke of his physical state, he eloquently said, "I'm not living the life I thought I would lead, but it does have meaning, purpose. There is love, there is joy, there is laughter." The story of Christopher Reeve demonstrates what's commonly known as hedonic adaptation, where no matter what life throws your way, for better or worse, and there are minor exceptions, people generally return to a relatively stable emotional state called a set point of happiness. Living your purpose is one of the most surefire ways to boost your happiness quotient and live a life of resilience. There's resilience in forgiveness, and this is very challenging for many. But who has been exempt from betrayal or hardship caused by others, by lovers, colleagues, friends, even family? What we know is that forgiveness is a gift we give to ourselves. It doesn't erase the past, but it certainly will bring solace, and it is necessary for spiritual growth and resilience. It's a conscious decision to live a life of peace and understanding. There have been studies that demonstrate that those who exhibit resilience tend to embrace forgiveness. To harbor grudges from the past replays old pain over and over and prohibits healing. The classic example of forgiveness is the legendary Nelson Mandela, who of course was the first Black president of South Africa, whose life work and purpose and passion was fighting apartheid. He was imprisoned for 27 years of his life lost. He exemplified resilience through forgiveness. When he walked out of the prison gate, he said, "I knew that if I continued to hate these people, I was still in prison." He recognized the need to leave his bitterness and hatred behind. I was raised with the understanding that people do the best they can, even if they fail us. And that belief system fosters forgiveness, which fosters resilience. There are other resources to shore up your resilience, physical practices that center you and move you forward, like yoga and meditation and exercise. My lifelong gratitude practice has taught me that even darkness deserves gratitude. I have learned that not all growth takes place in the sunlight. One of my favorite poets, Mary Oliver, said, "Someone once gave me a box full of darkness, and I realized that too was a gift." And as Zorba famously said when faced with the destruction of his dreams, "Teach me to dance." It's appropriate as we grapple with the plague of COVID to quote from Camus' The Plague. One of my favorite quotes, it has hung in my home since I was 26 years old. "In the midst of winter, I found there was within me an invincible summer." And that makes me happy, for it says that no matter how hard the world pushes against me, within me, there's something stronger, something better, pushing right back. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Well, we have some dancing now, don't we? So, as you say, to teach you to dance. Thank you so much, Gina. I love the way that you quoted, "The wound is the place where light comes in." Yes, you know, we all have wounds, and when we were talking earlier about the hope, inspiration, and transformation, you know, the hope is aspiration. It's all about dreaming and desiring, and it's hoping that things will get better. And sometimes, you know, well, sometimes, sorry, we all have wounds. I don't think there's anybody that's live and anybody that's watching the replay could say that they haven't had any wounds. But again, going back to what do we choose? And with those wounds, if we choose to see the light from what those wounds have given us, then, and we're acting with forgiveness and we're dancing, then we're in a good place. Do you agree?
So true.
Thank you very, very much. So yeah, Superman. So we just have so many supermen and so many superwomen. So what does it say? Superman finds his purpose. And I think that this next speaker that we're going to go to has also found his purpose. I think he's found his purpose in speaking to me every day and making sure that I'm on the right track, which is amazing. And it's truly, as I said, it's the same about Rick. It's truly great and humbling for me, but from the deepest part of my heart, to say thank you for both of you for being an instrumental part of Hit Talks and taking Hit Talks to where it's going to go. It's it wouldn't be the hope, the inspiration, the transformation without you being part of it. And so I would love to invite the floor to Dr. Sanjeev Chopra, who is just taking a little bit of break about writing, I think it's his 11th book, which he wrote, I think, in 72 days, and telling me every day, Vicky, how are you getting on with your book? Oh, well, I've finished mine. So, yes, we do have to say that there is some definitely some inspirational messages coming from Dr. Chopra's side of the world today. So I now pass the floor over to Dr. Sanjeev Chopra. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you so very much, Vicky. I'm delighted to be with all of you and share some reflections on the topic of hope, inspiration, and transformation. Mark Twain once famously said, the two most important days in your life are the day you're born and the day you find out why. Each one of us has a singular purpose in life. I'm going to share with you the story of a very inspirational young lady by the name of Mariah Smith. When she was born, she was abandoned as a newborn on Christmas Eve outside somebody's home. Somebody rang the doorbell, this couple came out, they say, a newborn baby. She grows up in an orphanage for the first 2 years and then is adopted by a lovely, nurturing family in Virginia Beach. Age 17, she goes with her adopted mother to get some takeout food. As she's about to sit in the car with her food, she notices a man sitting on the curb. He's gaunt, he's disheveled, he's homeless, and he's shivering. It's winter. She says, Mom, I'm going to give him the food. Gives him the food. Then she looks in the back of the car, and sure enough, there's a clean blanket. So she takes the blanket and wraps it around the man. He's already eating the food. She's now 26. In the last 9 years, she has given away more than 120,000 blankets. 4 days a week in her van with her mother, she goes to these parks where there are homeless people. She goes into the side streets, homeless people, many of them abandoned by their own families, also refusing to get into shelters. And with total unconditional love, she has these huge boxes. It contains a blanket, nutrition bars, vitamin D, water, sunscreen, often hats, shoes, warm socks, and she gives it to them. Now there are chapters based on her story opening in other counties and other states around the country. She was asked, what was the reaction of that first guy you gave the blanket to? She said, oh my God, he looked up. His expression was a combination of shock and gratitude. It haunts me to this day, but it keeps me going. This young lady gives hope for all of us in humanity. She has transformed the lives of so many thousands of people. There are merchants in Virginia that donate to her cause, school children who prepare lunches. She gives talks at schools. Every week on Sunday, she's giving a talk at a different church. She's transforming the way we look at homeless people. Pretty amazing story. So clearly embedded in this story are the elements of hope, inspiration, and transformation. I've always been fascinated by the topic of leadership. I've been privileged to write a book and give a talk about this subject around the country, around the world. What do followers look for in leaders? It turns out 4 things: stability, empathy, trust, and hope. Stability, empathy, trust, and hope. Napoleon was once asked to define a leader. He said, a leader is a dealer in hope. What a simple, nice definition. A leader is a dealer in hope. So I believe the future leaders that will give us tons of hope, inspiration, and transformation are right now in school. They're in college. They've just graduated. They're the future most amazing inspirational leaders. I want to share with you an excerpt of a commencement speech that Oprah Winfrey gave recently. So I'm going to read that. So can you use this disorder that COVID-19 has wrought? Can you treat it as an uninvited guest that has come into our midst to reorder our way of being? Can you, the class of 2020, show us not just to put the pieces back together, but how to create a new and evolved normal? A world more just, kind, beautiful, tender, luminous, creative, whole. This moment is your invitation to use your education, your creativity, your valor, your voice, reflecting on all you have witnessed and hungered for, all that you know to be true, and use it to create more equity, more justice, more joy in the world. I want to leave you with a parting thought, something I put on Facebook a few days ago, came to me while I was meditating. And I want to say to all of you listening, may the next phase of your lives be one of ebullient joy and transformation. What a blessing that would be. Let me repeat it. May the next phase of our lives be one of ebullient joy and transformation. What a blessing that would be. Namaste.
Namaste. Thank you so much, Sanjeev. Thank you so much. So the new and evolved normal. So yes, the next generation. But it doesn't mean that we're done yet. It means that we can still have hope. We can still inspire, and we can still transform. And and then the next generation can also learn from us. But yeah, gratitude and hope. And how important is gratitude? I remember many, many years ago, it was just never something in my field. You know, when you're in corporate and, you know, you're in this, let's say, rat race, how often do you have a leader that comes historically? How often do you have a leader that would come in and say, right, let's start writing down our gratitudes now. Let's start thanking. Let's start forgiving. Let's start having a little bit of trust. Let's have a little bit of empathy. It would be, what was your numbers? Okay, and how many people are you're gonna visit today, and etc. etc. So the world is transforming. So the world is transforming, the world is evolving, leaders are evolving, leaders are transforming. And as you say, Sanjeev, with stability, with empathy and with hope, but also with the leaders having trust in the people that they are leading and with where they're going. And that is exactly where we were talking about earlier. When you do have the trust, you're able to then bring in the right people energetically into your field, that the right people are there for the common good of stability, trust, hope, new evolved world. So thank you very much for that, Sanjeev. Thank you for your inspiration. Thank you for your hope, and thank you very much for your transformational messages. So I would like to share the floor next with somebody who's very, very close to my heart, somebody who is, let's say, an ex-business partner of mine, but always be a business partner, where we've done lots of good things together, meeting prime ministers over the world, you know, having fun and yeah, serious stuff as well. Spoken and on stages all over the world together, true brother to me. And I know that when he comes on, you are going to feel his energy. So I don't need to say anything else other than, please, Rajiv, can you turn your video on? He's all the way from Norway, and I am going to bring him on to the stage. So I would like to bring to the floor Rajiv Lahar, all the way from Norway. And yes, he does look absolutely freezing cold.
Thank you so much, Vicky. I hope you can hear me, everyone. And yes, I'm out here in Norway. And just a few weeks back, we had a quick chat, recap basically with Vicky, and she talked about the HIT Talks. And since then, I've just been literally just waiting to be able to be a part of this, because in this particular time, there's nothing more important than HIT, the hope, the inspiration, and the transformation. And I've only the last 3 months probably worked harder on pretty much everything I've touched than ever before. So been working probably about 18, 19, 20 hours a day. And I'm actually here as well. I'll show you the surroundings soon. The reason for that is probably not because Vicky knows that I've done business all over the world, but it's been driven by the business, but not by the passion. Once you have a passion, nothing can stop you. Sanjeev was touching upon it. You have something, the desire coming from the heart. And Rick was talking about it with the yes part. Gina was mentioning with everything, that you have a choice. And that's basically what I'm going to talk about now is the choices you have. Vicky mentioned that you can choose to actually forgive. You can choose to look at the pandemic as a global disaster, or you can look at it as, okay, how can I contribute? And we have a saying in Norway, which is very special. It's called dugnad, which is probably translated into English like tithing, that you give something without expecting anything back. And it's a small community in Norway. It's only about 5 million people, 5.5. And everyone started supporting each other. Even the people that had a choice to not do it are actually supporting it. And that actually has been a very good thing for the nation, to give hope. And there's a lot of businesses going down. There's a lot of families struggling in all over the world at the moment. But to have the choice to hope for something good and also the choice to have the inspiration. So there might be stuff that's not inspiring you, but you can choose to look at it from a different angle to find out how you can actually get inspired. It can be the same happening, it can be the same view that that you've had, but you have a choice to see in a different way. When it comes to transformations, I think this you have a choice to look at the pandemic as a very negative thing, but I choose to look at it as a new way of transformation. The schools are transforming, having education done through the internet. You have people that are choosing to find ways around. So last 2 weeks, we set up a new business in Norway. Due to the pandemic, we transformed a totally new industry. And we've been working day and night for a few patents that we're going to launch in Middle East first, and then we're going to do a big investment in Africa, hopefully in the beginning of next year, where we can transform deserts into fruitful soil. And just seeing that how many people are actually suffering with the desertification, that's where the passion comes in. So I started that part, and with the business as a business idea, and I think I mentioned it a few weeks back to Vicky as well. That, you know what, this is not a business anymore; it's more a passion. And dealing with soil, dealing with the deserts, it's a total transformation for me. I have a background as a rocket scientist. I love everything that flies, but it's still a passion and a interest, but it's not anything that I can leave behind me, right? So it's all about the choice that you have to do something that creates hopes for other people. It can inspire and it can transform. That's still going to be there even when you're gone. And by the choice and the choice you have is a very good example is behind me here. It's one of, I'm actually on in Norwegian mountain area where we have a very nice resort behind me, which is now totally empty. It's probably one of the most inspiring places. You have the downhill skiing in the back here, and it's totally empty. And what they've done is they had the choice to let it run down, or actually to just open it up for the community and the local community, so people could just take a break from everything that's happening. And that's, in my opinion, a way to, you know, decide from the heart to give a choice to other people as well. And I believe this is the time where we can step up. We have the choice to step up or step back, but this is now when leaders can choose to be leaders or choose to be led by someone else. And I believe this is the right time to step up, take the right choice, take the choice to say yes, and take the choice to forgive, and choose to become a leader if you can.
Thank you so much. Are you cold?
No, I'm born in Norway, so I'm used to this. I'll give you a view of this amazing place. It's a bit chill, but it's amazing.
Ah, so good, so good. Thank you, Rajiv. Well, that was Rajiv Lahar, all the way from Norway, actually outside on the ski slopes as well. So yes, I'm glad that you're outside the ski slopes, and I'm actually nice and the warm here. But one thing I got from you talking about choosing there, Rajiv, and transforming, it's pivoting, isn't it? It's how many people are able to pivot their business and pivot their choices. And I like the word pivot, because you know, it's, if we think of pivot, it's just moving things around. And it's so easy for us in life and in business and in family just to get stuck in a rut, or to get stuck in it has to be that way, or it has to be that way, or it should, you know, the word should. How many times do we say the word should? But when we have the opportunity and we make the choice to pivot, and that is what this pandemic, or this, let's say I call it a situation, then it gives we do have the choice to pivot, and it's how we pivot. It's like doing these things online to give hope and transformation and inspiration to the world. There's so many different things, and I'll use an example. Is I have a 16-year-old daughter, and she has her friends in quarantine with us here as well, and they're sat down and they're colouring. Now, how often do you see 16 and 17-year-old girls colouring in colouring books? Do you know what I mean? And for me, it just made my heart shine. And, you know, and they were sat there, and, you know, it doesn't kind of happen in this era. So it's a blessing that we have these situations that come into our life, and they pivoted. That's what they did. They could have, in the past they would have been out, but they didn't have the opportunity to do that, so they pivoted and they started to colour. So you know, I invite you to start thinking about ways that you're pivoting, or how you're able to pivot, and think about giving yourself gratitude of when you have pivoted as well, because sometimes we are doing these pivots, sometimes we are making these changes, but are we actually tapping ourselves in the back and actually saying, yeah, this has actually made a difference in our life, or are we looking at it a different way? So I just invite you to look at the ways that you are pivoting, because I would say every single person here in the room and every single person listening to the playback, that you're pivoting in a transformational way in your own life. But just make a note of those and give yourself, from me, a hit. Sorry, a tap on the back of hope, inspiration and transformation. So with that, I would like to now give the floor to another amazing lady who was, I'm just so blessed, because it must be now 2 o'clock in the morning over in Singapore. And bless her, she stayed up. Again, another soul sister in the Mayan calendar. So I follow the Mayan calendar a lot, and the energies of the Mayan calendar. She's a blue eagle, just like me. And today, Christina, it is the Blue Eagle Day. So this is why we're shining magnetically today. So she's all the way from Singapore. She's an inspiration to me. She's an inspiration to many people in Singapore for what she does with all her media and with her messages. And to have you part of Hit Talks Live, Christina, thank you so much. And I invite you to the floor.
Thank you very much, Vicky Thomas, for this opportunity. Veronica, for making that possible, for bringing the world a little bit together. Thanks all of you for being there. And it's been so far so good, beautiful to hear all of you. Hearing Rick talking about the power of positivity, Gina about resilience with this strong message, Rajiv, the freedom of choice and stepping up, of course, Dr. Sanjeev, which is always a pleasure listen to him. With that talk about living a life of purpose with hope. And I feel a little bit intimidated, to be honest. The standards are being so high. So it's okay for you if I share a story with all of you, a personal story, okay?
Perfect.
So it was 8:50 p.m. on a rainy Friday in Milan, Spain. I was in the studio getting ready to host my talk show, and I was repeating my mantra to get in the song. Yo soy café. Yo soy café. I'm a coffee. Suddenly a call from an unknown number. I knew something was wrong. A calm voice said, Cristina, this is Dr. Castañón from the hospital King Juan Carlos. I have some news for you. We need to talk. You need to have a heart operation. You are a walking bomb. Can you talk? Really? Can I talk? My show was just about to start. Can I talk? What do you think I said? I call you later, alligator. Show must go on, doesn't it? Well, you can imagine how I feel throughout the show. How will you react it? Will you be calm, in control, or freaking out? Once the red light went off, I have the biggest revelation of my life. Yo soy café. Put me in hot water, I will show you my strength. That program was one of the best in my career. All of a sudden, an hour of live television didn't seem such a big deal. The universe has a plan B for me that was much greater. So my mantra became my North Star. I'm quick making quick decisions, and I'm proud of it. Do you know what happens when you make quick decisions? That there is no other possibility. Now you are in control. Was I scared? You bet. I was freaking out. I was terrified. Did it paralyze me? Yo soy café. Yo soy café. I'm coffee. You see? That's the paradox of coffee. An apparently humble, ugly, and broken being holds the power to transform the medium of water. A drink that is tasteless, odorless, no even color, and change it to a cup of pure glory. The world consumes over 2 billion cups of coffee a day. It's ridiculous. You know that coffee is the most valuable traded commodity after oil. All thanks to an Ethiopian shepherd, his dancing goats, and a monk who shared the story to the world. When sharing this story today, I decided to share it, my story, because I think it may help in this time of coronavirus, where is notion of time, we don't need to run anywhere. That is how my world became when I heard the words, Cristina, you're a walking bomb. You see, the world is in crisis. This pandemic is causing great damages and instability all over the globe. It has the potential to change our lives forever. Yes, there is a lot of bad news. There is a lot of negativity. There is a lot of drama. And there is a lot of heartless fake news, but also there is an opportunity to share our moments of greatness. Put out there positive stories, ours. We have a voice. We can choose to be here. This pandemic brought humanity to its knees, teaching us amazing, valuable lessons. We all are one race. We are the human race. We are currently living uncertain times, living at a time where thinking about ourselves is the new norm. This virus speaks up and tells us the only way to overcome it is working together. This crisis is making nations to help each other as never before. We finally understood we are all one. Coronavirus is leveling the field, turning privileged players feel discrimination. Those who once thought of building walls are no longer allowed to cross borders. In a time where the elderly was feeling left behind, youth and heroes with no capes become their saviors, sharing one message. All matter. We all matter. This time in history is a pause in our timeline. We can use it to be afraid, to be in pain, or design who we become by taking control of our lives. It is time. It is time for creating greatness, for sharing greatness. It is time for review our priorities, what really matters to us. Of course, it is a challenge. We don't have any reference of what happened before. We don't see the path, but it also can be a time for ourselves, for growing ourselves, for become a better person, to learn from the mistakes we all made before, and to build a better tomorrow. You see, I really believe that it is in our challenge where our true character shines. Just as coffee and hot water, pain is temporary. It may last for a minute, for a day, or for a year, but eventually it will pass and something else will take its place. We can be afraid of hot water. We can be afraid of taking decisions. We can influence so many people just sharing our stories. I believe my husband, my family, and friends deserve the best version of me. If I'm not making the lives of all these people around me, I'm losing my time, and worse of it, I'm making them lose their time. We all have a duty to leave this place in a better shape than when we arrive. Try lifting others up. Otherwise, we all are wasting our time. We all understand the power of the media. We all can be part of it if we choose to. It is up to us to create the world we want to live, the way that is shown, the news that we want to read. Journalists, we don't make up stories. We talk with people. We source and find information to back up stories of value to others. Journalists are desperate for stories to tell. You can share yours. Speak up. You see, when I overcome one of the biggest challenges of my life, I wake up 2 hours later in the intensive care unit. I was so hungry, so thirsty. It was ridiculous. I thought my throat walls were sticking together. Nurses took pity of me and allowed me to eat and drink water. In case you don't know, you don't suppose for a good reason. If you didn't notice yet, I'm Spanish. So following recommendation is not our forte, but neither left the staff hungry. I ate not just one, but 2 chicken thighs. And I used to hate that part. Within few minutes, I threw all the food that I have. Can you imagine have your sternum wide open and throwing up and cough? I will tell you this, it wasn't pretty. Either way, I was out of the ICU within 11 hours of my heart operation. I was happy, wearing my blue dressing gown and smiling. Why? Yo soy café. I'm coffee. I just decide the type of person I want to be and the story I would like to write. a life worth living is a life worth recording. Remember, there is always a good story in a strong cup of coffee. Thanks for listening.
Thank you, my love. Thank you so much. Now, I know that Sanjeev is there smiling and beaming inside because, Christina, you do need to talk, you two. He is writing a book on coffee. So as you're talking about I am coffee, he's like, oh my gosh, so am I. So, yeah, fantastic, fantastic. And as you say, then, you know, what I got from there, I was just like, oh my gosh, just in this one hit talk, we have heroes and we have supermen and superwomen as well. So we could turn this into a comic book. But again, very much about choices, making the quick decision. And as you say, the other thing is something for us all to be aware of is the decisions that we make, are they from our heart and from our gut? Because this is the thing, it's making the decisions from our heart and from our gut, and maybe perhaps not from our rational mind in some circumstances. And as you said, you know, you made that quick decision from your gut, and that was it. Put you in hot water and we will show you how strong you are. So I think that is the same for everybody. So any inspiration we take away from this, if not literally, so don't take me literally on this, but if we put you in hot water, we will be able to see how strong you all are. And every single person out there, as we say, has a choice. They have a choice of how strong they want to be. But strong in the new world, strong in the new era, is actually strong from the heart, strong from the gut, strong with hope, strong with transformation, strong with inspiration, strong with trust, strong with integrity. It's all those strengths. And then when we start really magnetizing and expanding those strengths out into the field, then everybody else around us can be strong. And then we're doing what we're here to do, is that we're transforming and we're inspiring. So thank you so much for that, Christina. Thank you very much. So we are now going to go to somebody who's also stayed up extremely late for us, who is in Indonesia now at the moment. So I think he might have had a little bit of a sleep. You know, this is what I love about Hit Talks, is I have such a close connection with everybody here, and there just are heroes, supermen and superwomen. It is absolutely fascinating. Fantastic, fascinating, amazing, on top of the world, on top of the moon. You know where I'm coming from. So Jason, I'm going to be inviting on, is from Indonesia. He is an award-winning poet and writer as well. He is also a fellow quantum healer. So we work together in that capacity, and he does so many other things, but this gentleman is also full of inspiration. So Jason, thank you for staying up so late and for being with everyone here on Hit Talks Live. And I'm going to give you the stage.
Ooh. Okay. Hello, everybody. Vicky, thank you so much for the invitation to come and speak here today. And I really do appreciate the format of the sort of the deliberately under-engineered talk. And so as Rick was saying, to come and say what I am saying, and to do so from the heart. Where we can all shine our beautiful light, as Sophie sang to us from the very beginning. So for me, what I can do today is merely just express, and that's my message today, is about expression, is to express from the unique awareness at this moment in time of this person called Jason Caniff. The world wants us to believe that we are sort of an accumulation of a residue, or an accumulation of a field of forces, right? And then what I want to say today is that we are not that. We are individuals. And as individuals, as sovereign individuals, we have things to say. And that was Christina's beautiful message, that just to speak and to get on media and to share our stories. So what I have to share today is some observation just through my own field of awareness through this whole sort of pandemic. And as a language nerd and as a poet, of course, I have certain observations through that field, through that frame of awareness. And so what I've seen is amidst this world of confusion, let's just call it the world of confusion, where through mainstream media, through other things, we're not quite sure what's happening. We're not quite sure what is real. We don't know what information to trust, right? So I'm looking at all this kind of stuff. I'm trying to make useful sense of it, because that's what we're all trying to do. Like, what is happening? And what's my role in this? So I've isolated, I think, and I'll share that with you today, of a few different forces that are happening right now in the world. And as a poet, of course, they all rhyme, right? So I was starting to see these things happening in mainstream media, and they're all like saying the same things. So it's all about like doom and gloom. The futurists are like, hey, there's a looming depression coming. Oh, hey, there is a recession coming. I'm like, depression, recession, okay. So like this depression's coming and this recession's coming. And then I'm like, okay, but these other elements coming too. So what we're having right now, as best as I can tell, is we're having an inevitable depression, okay? We're having inevitable recession. And then because of that, we're all experiencing repression. And because of that repression, we're experiencing regression, okay? So what's happening is that there's kind of a conflation between sort of economic terms and sort of psychological terms. Okay, so for me today, my message to all of you is that the answer is always expression. Okay, so all of these forces that are happening right now, what I believe that they're doing, they're actually forcing us into sort of regressive behavior. Okay, and when we're regressing in our behavior and our mindset, or sort of the way we experience the world, it actually goes against transformation. Okay, so what I want to suggest today is that we just pay attention a bit more to how these forces are actually affecting our lives, and then to ask ourselves how we can step up and to express more. So like depression, of course, is like, this is a low economy, it's a high unemployment. A recession is kind of a withdrawal, right? Or the recession is like when the choir leaves the church. It's like the evacuation of the spirit as well. And then the repression would be the exclusion of sort of distressing things, right? We're taking distressing things that we're observing out in the world, okay? And we're intentionally excluding them so you don't have to deal with them. They go to the level of the unconscious, and then we go inward. We go inward farther and farther, and here's where the depression's coming. Here's where there's a mental health crisis as far as I can understand right now. And just a funny example, I think my wife's on the call right now. So I'm able to speak these today because I ended up going into sort of a regression. Like, so like there was an economic turn, my business was starting to fold a little bit. I was booted off of Facebook 3 times for speaking my truth. So whenever I'd go up onto Facebook and I would say, oh, hey, I have like this new modality to heal and to help with your immunity and stuff like that, I was targeted, deplatformed, and deleted 3 different times, and from all the tech companies. So I'm literally trying to, in this recession, in this depression, to go into expression, and that expression is met with silencing, oppression. And this is happening all over the place. Thousands of people are being deplatformed right now all over the world. People who have to speak in order to make useful sense. Even if we're just sort of connecting ideas together on the fly, okay? We cannot express because we are in danger. Because if we actually speak our truth, we actually try to make useful sense of the madness and the confusion, the danger is we lose our platforms. We get isolated from our family and our friends, okay? And this is much what happened to me and a whole bunch of other people. So this got so bad that like, I was like, I have an office at home, and like all of a sudden I wasn't doing my laundry. I was like leaving stuff all over the place. Like my wife was asking me to do stuff, and I was like being rebellious, and I was being kind of rude. And she's like, what are you, a teenager? Like, what are you doing? And so like, because of like this sort of security, like, oh, I want to feel safe, I actually like and I couldn't speak, I actually had regressed back into a safer version of myself. So if I could rebel against, like, do the dishes, take out the trash, do stuff like that, I was actually in a much, much safer position, okay? So once I recognized that, had the awareness of that, then I started to write about it and talk about it, then it all sort of turned out a lot better. So we may not all have these examples in our lives such as that, but like for me, I noticed that like I wanted to return back to a place that was much safer. So I think what's happening with a lot of people right now is that we're actually trying to return back to a safer place where if we expressed ourselves, there might be some kind of retaliation or punishment. And I think that is something that is engineered and is designed right now. So the message I have today is that the answer is always expression. Always, always, always expression. And so what is expression? Expression is an utterance, like yes, yes, right? If nothing else. If you can't do anything, just say yes. Expression can be a manifestation. It's like this bag of Oreos here is a symbol, is an expression of my admiration for you, okay? And also a significant word or phrase can be an expression, okay? So what I propose is that no matter what situation that we're in, we continue to utter. It doesn't matter what it is. If it's just a noise, if it's a scream, if it's a whisper, if it's a yes, even if it's a no, it has to be an utterance. We have to keep on speaking, keep on expressing, keep coming up. I will try to get on Facebook for a fourth time. I will try to get back on Twitter. I will try to get back on LinkedIn. I will keep getting on there over and over and over again. And every time we do that, every time we get on, it's a victory. It's a victory of yes. It's a victory of the human spirit, of expansion. It's a victory all the way down. So I guess that's my message for today, is to just keep expressing. As we're expressing, we get to continue to transform. When we're silent, if we retreat back in, we actually go backwards. And that's actually kind of what they want right now. So I would like everybody to keep expressing yourselves as much as possible all of the time, getting on calls like this, getting on social media, just speaking your truth without fear. Okay. Thank you.
Gracias, namaste. Thank you so much, Jason. Thank you. Amazing. So expression, so amazing. So I'm just going to say pression. So you can add all the words that Jason spoke about in the front of that. So that can be repression, regression, expression, just pression. So the message you'd like, really comes from that is, expansiveness, isn't it? Expansiveness. Going back to very much what Rick was saying and what we've all been saying is saying yes and speaking our truth. And you know as well as I do, Jason, with the quantum healing work that we do, a lot of the work, especially on women, but I know it is for men as well. So men and women, but it's around their throat. It's a lot around their throat chakra, and that is because of the years, the centuries, generations of not being able to use your voice. And it follows through. It does follow through. And the more that we can use our voice, and I said to a client only a couple of days ago, if you haven't got the confidence to use your voice, go and talk to a tree. Okay, but it's using your voice. No one has to be around. You can go and scream at a tree, cry at a tree, hug a tree, tell a tree you love it, but just express and express to, I use the analogy of trees because I talk to trees all the time. But so thank you for sharing that, Jason. As I say, it's very much about returning back to safety and using our expressions with a victory of yes.
And just to add one little thing to that,
you may.
Vicki and I do work a lot with the throat chakra, and if expression can be like, I can manifest that expression as a gift or something like that, or a physical object, then this mask that goes around our face is literally it's the manifestation of the opposite of expression. So our throat chakras are being colonized by cotton, right? So this is very symbolic right now. What's happening is that this whole area is being colonized by forces that are trying to accumulate against our free will. So
thank you. sorry, I muted myself then. That's the thing. Let's all start using our expression. Let's start using our voices, and let's start sharing. But let's start sharing some hope, some inspiration, and some transformation, and all about the next Hit Talks. But before we do that, I would like to invite you to another part of the world. Now, this time we are going all the way to South Africa. So I love South Africa. So when I was on my speaking tour and I was speaking all over the world to entrepreneurs and business owners, I was on the stage. I think she'll have to remind me here, but I think it was in Cape Town. It might have been in Joburg. I'm not too sure. Was it Joburg? And I was on stage in Joburg, and we met there. And with Hit Talks, the speakers that come on Hit Talks, it's very much as a soul-led guidance. So it's very much about, when you ask your soul and you trust, it's the guidance of these people that are going to be able to serve the viewers. And every single time we do a Hit Talk, it's a range of different people, so we can serve the viewers in totally different contexts. And so I really wanted South Africa to be in the house, and Kim is the person that came to me and like this. So I reached out to Kim, and she was like, oh my God, Vicky, yes, 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 yes. So Kim is Kim is a voice coach in South Africa, a voiceover artist. She helps entrepreneurs be the best versions of themselves. She also runs amazing charities, but I will let Kim share with you what she does. And thank you for being here all the way from South Africa, and all your guests on the line from South Africa and watching the replay. I now give you the floor, Kim, and thank you for being here.
Oh, wonderful. Hello, everybody. Wow, there's nothing like condensing 8 hours or 80 hours of my mindset material into 8 minutes. And thinking back to when I was at school, I can confidently tell you that summarizing is not my strong point if I think back to the essays that I used to hand in. But Vicky, I am deeply humbled and honored to have been invited to be part of this platform. It came at the right time for me. It really, really did. You've given me a challenge that I happily accept, and I'm using this to turn a weakness of mine into a new strength. That is keeping into the time limit, which is something that I'm not very good at. Thank you for the warm welcome. And yes, I do use my voice as my career, but at the moment, and especially during lockdown, 95% of my time is dedicated to food relief, electricity relief, education support to the beneficiaries at an organization, a non-profit organization that I co-founded 5 years ago, having no idea what I was getting myself into. But we are in a strange time, and I love the work that I do, and I learn lessons from the beneficiaries and the families and the people in the community who live in such abject poverty and challenges that I can't help but learn so many life lessons from them, in my utter admiration of strength and resilience. So thank you. I loved the quote earlier about the two most important days of our lives, one being the day that you're born and the other day being the day that you discover your purpose. And even though it has been a gradual development, and I have known that I'm ultimately a good person and a kind person and somebody who likes to help other people, I can actually say without a doubt that my purpose in life is to make other people feel good about themselves, to find their 100% happy, their 100% truth. And at the same time, while I help people do that, I'm blessed to, as I just mentioned, to continuously work on myself and elevate my own level of happiness. So it's really a win-win situation. But one of the tools that I use for myself and with everybody that I work with is the tool of hindsight. And so often in the work, when we read inspirational things and we watch inspirational videos, and we're always looking to the future. What can you do differently? What can you do differently? What action do you need to take? And at this time, with this pandemic, with everybody treading on new water, a lot of people are being forced to transform. because we don't know where the world is going to be taking us. So I use hindsight as a tool for moving into the future. And hopefully with what I'm going to share with you now, I'm hoping to hit you square in the face. And by that, I mean to give you the hope to inspire yourself, to transform something in your life that you aren't happy with or that you may feel restricted by. So I'm going to ask you all just to think back to some different times in your life, something that you did as a child. And funnily enough, a lot of the things that I'm going to mention have been mentioned by Vicky and by the other speakers. So I hope that this is sort of going to culminate into a nice conclusion for this event. Vicky said, tap yourself on the shoulder. And when she was talking about that, she was completely right. I'm also guilty of not giving myself recognition for things that I have done well or things that I have accomplished. I take it for granted that the things that I do is just part of my life, but actually I've come to a stage where I can look back and say, I went through stages of self-loathing, but now I like who I am. I'm proud of who I am, and I live in a state of 100% happiness virtually every single day, even when times are really tough. So I'd like you to think back to your childhood of something that you did or experienced that you could be super proud of, something that made you really happy, and think about who were the people with you. And when I think back, I think about, despite having been horribly teased and verbally bullied for my bad skin, my glasses, which I now own, and I like, and for other things that I'm not really going to get into now, but I have actually been successfully employed since I was 14 years old. Since I was 14 years old, I have always had a source of income. And I can think back to that time and think who was in my life at that time. And I would like you to do the same. Now I would like you to think of another stage in your life when you're a little bit older, something that made you feel good, something that you can be proud of, and maybe something that you actually didn't give yourself that recognition for. So I'd like to share with you that when I was 16, we moved from England to Holland. And shortly after we moved there, my brother, who was 3 years older than me, he died in a car accident. And I didn't know why at the time, but I decided a few months after that I was going to remove myself from the international school where we had both that we were both enrolled at, and I put myself into a Dutch school where I knew no one. I barely spoke a word of Dutch, and I had 2 years to learn how to speak and write Dutch fluently and well enough to write my high school exams. And I got on with it, and I did it, and I passed, and I even got 84% for Dutch first language, which is actually bloody remarkable, if I might say so myself. So that was that stage of my life. And then I want you to pick up a little bit later in your life. Think about who was in your life then, and then move forward a little bit. And think about something else that you did well, that you accomplished, something that made you happy. Think about the people that were with you at that time. For me, having no clue how to run a business, myself and my new BFF, after having had a baby, we decided to introduce a brand new baby product into the South African market. We didn't know how to run businesses. She had a marketing skill set, I had a performing arts skill set, and I could talk, and I had confidence. And out we went there. We learned everything from manufacturing, retailing, wholesaling, distribution, importing, exporting, and we won awards for our business and for our product, for our innovation. Now, so those are three moments out of my life. And there are 3 points I would like to make here to you. Firstly, just to reiterate, I studied performing arts and I qualified as a speech and drama teacher, and I did a diploma in effective communication that was almost unheard of back in 1998, giving my age away. But I have worked nonstop, mostly self-employed, but occasionally employed. And I have not been formally qualified for any job that I have done. I did not study business. I did not study import and export. I did not study manufacturing, textile design, anything. So that is the one point. Secondly, I had, up until recently, never thought that I had done anything particularly remarkable. And I certainly hadn't ever given myself the credit. And I recognize that too many of us go through life thinking that we are normal and unremarkable. Maybe that's the same for you. The third point I would like to make is that the people who were by your side and around you when you were a smaller child or younger, were they the same people who were with you when you thought to your second point of remarkability or your third point of achievement or happiness, whichever memories you were thinking about? Because for me, this was a very valuable lesson and something that I work with my clients, is to recognize that the only constant in your life is you. You don't need to always look to the left and to the right and to compare yourself to other people and to think you are better or not as good as other people. Those people are not 100% guaranteed to be in your life all the time, but you are the 100% constant in your life. And you need to recognize the value that you can offer, regardless of anybody else around you. So in hindsight, when I look at things I have done, I had to ask myself how and why was I able to accomplish those things? And this is the lesson in mindset that I'd like to share with you today. And it has been mentioned, and that is choice. Failure just wasn't a word I knew. I knew sadness, I knew grief, I knew heartache, I knew disappointment, I knew loneliness, I knew ugliness, I knew fear for thinking I could be happy, but I never held myself back. I did fail along the way. I failed often. I fell often, and I fell badly. I lost everything 2 or 3 times in my life, but I just got up and carried on as if I had broken a nail. You know, oh, that's inconvenient. Nails heal and grow again. And I now recognize that I have sort of taken that on as a simile for my own life. Nowhere did I receive an instruction manual on how to get there, but I always just focused on where I was going, and somehow I just made everything happen. I never stopped looking at what my goal was, ever. So my message for you today is to, if you are not where you want to be, if you have not found your 100% truth, your 100% happiness, don't criticize yourself for that. Picture what it is that you want to do. Picture your end goal. And just take action steps each and every day to get there. And it doesn't matter, it really does not matter how many times you have to reinvent yourself. The only constant in your life is you. You answer to you. So just to end off, I saw something very pertinent about stepping into the arena and playing your A game. And these words came to me perfectly earlier on today. And that was by a friend of mine, Dawn Evans. And she said, success depends, and I had to write it down straight away. Success depends on the second letter. And that letter is you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, my love. Thank you. So success depends on us. It depends on you. Absolutely love it. So the only constant in our choices really is us. And the constant as well, as I know from a lot of people I work with and for myself as well, is the only constant in our life is us. But it's also that we're the ones that's criticize ourselves. We're the ones that judge ourselves. So that's a constant as well, that we want to try our best with the inspiration, the transformation that we've been given during this episode to transmute out of our field. So thank you very much for that, Kim. I am truly blessed for everyone spending their time with us this evening, everyone that's here on the live call, everyone that's watching the replay. But before we leave, there's just a little gift that we would like to share with you. So before we do that, I would also like to give you the next date of the HIT Talks Live. The next episode is on the 6th of June. So the 6th of June, it will be 6 p.m. UK time and whatever time it is in your part of the world. We already have the lineup of speakers announced. So that, well, we've got the lineup of speakers already agreed. They will be announced shortly. But again, we are traveling the world. So we are traveling the world, going to different places and spreading hope, spreading inspiration and spreading transformation. So thank you very much for everyone for being part of this. And what we would like to finish with is we just like, there's so much that's been shared in this episode. And what I'd like to do is the words, I'd like to really, really energetically plant these words into your quantum field and into your fields, because we've been talking a lot about expression, like really expressing ourselves, about choices, about us all being heroes and superheroes. So we're not just heroes, actually. I'll take that back. We're not heroes, guys. We are all superheroes. So if you write anything down after this, as well as HIT on the 6th of June, I want you to write down, I am a superhero, because we are superheroes, and that we all matter. And it's having the trust, and it's being able to pivot, and it's using the power of yes within our field. It's having the freedom and the constant of us and making our own choices. So that's just some little reminders of what I've come up with just briefly, and I'd like to really implant these into your field. So I would invite you. Sorry, I didn't. I muted myself then. I'd like to invite you to sit comfortably in the back of your chair or wherever you are, and I'd invite you to close your eyes. And I would just invite you to just take some breaths, but just be aware of your breath. Just breathe in, breathe out slowly. Knowing that we have a choice. When you leave this episode of HIT Talks, what is going to be your choice? You can choose to believe that you're a superhero inside. You can say yes to any opportunity that comes into your field. You can pivot the situations that you're in. Just breathe deeply. With a sense of gratitude. Of love. Of hope. Of inspiration. And of course, of transformation. Just breathe gently. Just feel the transformation and the inspiration coming through your field. Just going to give the floor to Jason for a minute or so to transform some of this energy into our field. Thank you, Jason.
Go ahead and ground deeper into your presence. Grounding deeper into the here and the now. Knowing that the here and now is where everything is available. Knowing that your presence itself is an expression of your choice to be human, an expression of your choice to participate in our individual and collective evolution, an expression of your choice to participate in our collective ascension. Breathing into your field, breathing into your stomach, into your heart. Back out through, back into the earth. Your exhalation of blessing from your highest self to Gaia. Thank you so much.
Namaste. Thank you. So I am sad to say it is the end of this episode of HIP Talks Live on the 23rd of May, and I would be honoured to have you all back to listen to what we have on the 6th of June. And if there's any questions, are the speakers, if they want to give me a wave, are they open to any questions, or time-wise, if any questions come through? So if there's any quick questions that anyone wants to jump into the chat box here. I know that we'd like to say thank you very much for all the speakers, and to Sanjeev as a reminder of the 2 most important days. Blessings to all, and yes, we are all superheroes. And Kim, thank you, a fantastic speech, such amazing lessons. There's just so many fantastic comments in here. Yeah, amazing. So thank you to you all. Fantastic. Yeah, fantastic. So I think for the next HIP Talks, when you register, we're going to give you the opportunity to do questions in advance. So you'll be able to send the questions in advance, and then we'll be able to spend some time doing some questions and answers at the end, and then share some more personal hope, inspiration, and transformation with you. So I would like to thank you and say namaste, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever part of the world that you're in. And thank you so much. Bye, everyone. Thank you to all our amazing speakers. Amazing, thank you, bye. All these inspiring events. Yes, we are superheroes, thank you. Amazing, amazing. Lovely. So I'm going to close this now and stop the recording. Thank you very much for everybody. Thank you very much for our speakers. And our speakers, if we want to jump back into the Zoom room in a couple of minutes, that would be amazing. Thank you very much, and have an absolutely amazing rest of your Saturday.